Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are we getting on? Welcome to a brand new Fallout 76 camp. I am really happy with how this one came out. So last week we did a kind of crossover with South of Midnight and basically recreated one of the houses from that game in 76. But it wasn't very effective as a Fallout 76 camp. So I wanted to take that basic shape and idea and make it work for the game. So yeah, mission accomplished, I think. So, where are we for this one? Well, I've moved over towards the Nuka-Cola plant here, which is right over on the western side of the map, near Camden Park as well. Good spot this, just by the road. Built here a few times in the past, and yeah, always a nice spot to build. Nice bit of flat ground, reasonably open. Yeah, it's cool. So, here we go. We're going to use basically the same shape, but we're going to make it a bit bigger than last time and make it work a little bit better as a Fallout 76 sort of play-at-home camp, make it a bit more functional. So, first thing we're going to try and sort of follow the edge of the road here. Get this sort of lined up and eyeballed in. Actually, more or less a first effort for the positioning of this. Kind of leans back a bit in this corner, but that works all right. And the basic foundation will actually be a 5 across by 3 back. When we're actually done. I sort of changed a couple of bits. I'm moving these back because I intended to use porch pieces on the front corner here. Actually changed my mind later, as we will see, and use regular foundation. So, yeah, save yourself some hassle and just do that 5 by 3. But yeah, simple enough. Basically, an L-shaped interior. We're going to use the old school basic vanilla brick set here because I want a kind of a mixed materials thing, and this works quite nicely for what I've got in mind. The contrast is quite nice. So, we'll get that in there. It's got a kind of cottagey vibe when it's done as well, so albeit a slightly spacious one. So I'm trying to figure out where to get the windows in first off, and it's going to be somewhat similar to the last build, as I said. Links around to that one, of course, and I'll get the doors in basically the same place, but we'll make things a bit wider in general. This section on the right here is going to be 2 foundations wide rather than 1, which will allow us to do a better job, I think, overall. There we go. I think that's about there. We'll need to make a couple of adjustments. I should say, by the way, I ended up right at the limit of my build budget, so this is really stretching what you can do with size and having detailed decoration, but we managed. Here we go. Get the stairs in. I'm going to use the fortress stairs. I do really like those. They take up less space and they have that corner in them. Just wish they took up the rest of the foundation that they were snapped to, actually, and then you didn't fall off, but you can't have everything. So let's get those windows in. I'm using these smaller ones because, well, you can't just jump through them, which I'm not sure if you actually can with the large ones anymore. But you also suit the design a little bit better as well. So get a floor in, basically all the way across, except for where the stairs are, obviously. Nice, and we'll move on to the upper walls. So, after some debate, I went for the fortress walls upstairs because they have a kind of the wooden texture for the outside, which is nice, and it contrasts nicely with the brick below. But at the same time, we can also wallpaper inside, so we'll get that kind of finished vibe, which is going to be quite nice, which the regular log cabin set can't be wallpapered, so that kind of sold me on this. However, sort of figured out the windows and the blank walls, and it basically matches what we've got downstairs. In fact, I think it exactly matches what we've got downstairs, so it makes life a bit easier. There will be one slight technical problem here, and that is that there is no glass in these windows. And downstairs, that's also true, but not so obvious. Up here, it's a little bit more problematic. So we'll have to do something about that in a moment. First, let's get these internal walls in. We'll double-side these so we can wallpaper both sides. I'll have to pop this lower one back so that I can put the second wall here. Otherwise, it's going to think it's floating. And it might even be right on that point. There we are. So that's the walls in. Or most of them. Let's just change that back out, make it solid. Nice. So, I'm going to put a doorway there because we'll have a fireplace there. That needs to be a doorway as well. And I think there's one window to adjust, but we'll deal with that later. So, I went online and I found a little guide for how to glaze these windows. So, shout out here goes to Lucy Jane Plays, and I will link the video that I followed down below because it was very, very helpful on how to do this. But, yeah, you can basically merge glass walls into regular walls and produce glazed windows if you don't have them in the first place. So what we're going to do, remove those windows that we've already put in, and we're going to find some half walls. I'm specifically going to use the barn pieces here because I know they work. Other ones will, but definitely don't use the glass ones. That's one of the points that was in that video of Lucy James. So, next thing we do, break our 2 half walls. Just like that. And now we can grab the window that we actually want in place, the fortress one in this case. I'll find it again, there we go. And that will snap right back in over the 2 half walls that we've broken. So, you see where we're going with this? We're going to head over to the camp unit and repair it, because apparently I can't do it from there. I think because I can't see the edge of the wall, actually. But here we go. Those 2 repaired. We have it all blocked off. So all we have to do now is go back into the menu and go to Store Scrap Replace, go to the Replace option, and find the window we want to use. I'm going to use the regular greenhouse walls. The rustic ones will work as well, but the bars are a bit larger, so it doesn't quite fit the gap quite as nicely. Well, there we go. Glass in the window. Not perfect, but it'll do the job. Looks all right. So we are now going to repeat this procedure in all the other gaps. So fill those up with 2 sets of half walls, run around and give them a whack. Wrecking Ball perk doing good work here. Now we've got all those broken, we can snap the walls in over the top again. Nice and simple. There we go, all those done. Now we can go and repair. Fortunately, I have the doorway there, so I can hop back up nice and easy to have to run all the way around. Now, we just go back around and one by one swap all these half walls out for the glass ones. It's going to take a minute, but once we're done, we will have a set of glazed windows. Voila! Look at that. Nice and simple. So yeah, as I said, link the tutorial I followed down below if you want to have a look at that. Just go and send some love, because it was very, very helpful. So, last time, I wanted to do this 2 different sections of roof at different angles, 90 degrees to each other, but we didn't have enough space because I only did a single foundation wide, which was closer to the South of Midnight original inspiration in terms of proportions, but came with its own set of problems, obviously. As we're going a little larger this time, I actually can have the 2 different sets of roofs at different angles. Can't put a corner-shaped one in, unfortunately, because we don't have the inverted corners in 76, but oh well, what can you do? We'll make do, but I will have to break those roofs, as you can see, because otherwise I can't snap these 2 next to it in. But not too difficult, especially now the Wrecking Ball perk's been changed. So with the roof in, I'm going to head around and plug up these gaps. If you want to save yourself a tiny bit of hassle, plug these gaps up, put the arches in first, and then you won't have to struggle with the temperamental snapping, as I did. I don't know why it was being temperamental, it shouldn't really be, but one of those days, apparently. But still, we've got these top arches in. I'm using the rustic greenhouse set for these, because I do like those a bit more. They're a bit more interesting, and it lets a bit of extra light in. So there we go. Nice. With that done, I could repair the roof, and I just need to plug this last gap up, which will actually require destroying the roof again, because this took a fair bit of trial and error to figure out. If this can be done without a wall underneath, I'm not sure how to do it. It probably can, but it was a bit of a headache to figure out. Fortunately, I do quite like using those pavilion pieces inside. I've been using it a bit recently. I've seen a few other people doing that. They create a kind of nice... Well, they function as a wall, so they're helpful for doing something like this. Now we can repair and make that solid again. But they also create a nice divide that doesn't actually block anything off, so they're quite cool in that regard. So we just need to put a couple of double-sided arch pieces on the top of this wall here so that I can wallpaper both sides. Well, that's going to require using the brick set. Much easier to do if the roof wasn't there, but because I did the roof first, I'm going to have to go back and destroy stuff. That works out all right. Yeah. Sorted. Got to use the basic brick set for this, otherwise you won't be able to double-side these triangle pieces. Once they're in, however, you can repair them and swap them out for whatever you like, which we will be doing. So, let's run down here, repair, pop back up, and now we can swap them out for the fortress set, which is not strictly necessary, I suppose, given that we're going to wallpaper, but it, you know, it kind of pleases me from an aesthetic standpoint, at least knowing that it's right. And certain roof combinations, you can kind of tell that these are meant to be on the outside edge, so in that regard, swapping them out is not always a bad idea either. But I think that's more or less sorted. So, I want a little balcony out here. I made it larger in the last build because that kind of matched the source material in South of Midnight a bit more, but I didn't like the proportions of it. To be honest, it's a bit too small here as well, but it works, I think. It looks a little bit better. And on to the front porch, which we're going to do a little bit of a variation on. Use the pavilion pieces again to create our own porch. Open one there. Nice. It just switches things up from the usual porch pieces, which is nice. We'll use some grass roofs, which were, I believe, a season reward a while back. Which can use some flat ones. You could use angled if you wanted, but in this case, I think we'll stick with the flat ones. And yeah, it's alright. I did mess around trying to sort of set these roofs at different angles so that the grasses didn't all match. In hindsight, probably wasn't necessary, didn't achieve a great deal, but yeah, all in all, I think that looks alright. So, this is the point. I noticed just how much foundation was showing around the bottom of the building, which I knew was going to bug me, so on my own time, I went off and just lowered the whole building down by taking it all apart, lowering the foundations and rebuilding it, but I don't think we need to do this twice, do we? However, we've got one last thing to build, and that is a shed, just sort of out back here. I'm just going to draw on some inspiration from a video, a camp rather, that was in a recent Best Builds video. It had a cool little barn thing out back, so we can use that principle, but smaller. So, 3 foundations. Around the outside, we're using the abandoned mine kit. That looks pretty good. I actually don't want these 2 on the end. I'll take those off in a moment. There we go. That's better. And now we use pavilion pieces again on these front edges, create a kind of barn come shed vibe. And I think it works quite well. It goes really nicely with the abandoned mine kit. The texture's very similar with the pavilion set. We're going to get a grass roof on there. We'll use the corner one first. Now we'll get the arches on. These will have to be from the abandoned mine kit. Well, they don't, but they won't be pavilion pieces because we don't have arch pavilion pieces. But I've put just anything I could find on first because that way I have a shorter list of things to scroll through in order to find the actual pieces I want. So it's easier sometimes to just snap on whatever you can and then replace it. In that regard, just saves a little bit of scrolling time, which at this stage is considerable. So, snap those 2 roofs on now. This one is also going to be temperamental, because apparently it wants to be. There we go. Get some stairs in. Nice and rustic. Works for me. And I'm not happy with the pavilion half walls at the top there, so I'm going to pull those out. And we'll replace them with abandoned mine kit ones because it just looks a little better. Something about it just it's the doubling up, I think, that just doesn't appeal to me, that aesthetic. We do need to drop the roofs to flat ones though, otherwise these half walls will pop up on top of the roofs rather than beneath them. But now we've got them in, we can swap them out for the right texture. There we go. And not quite, there we are. And just switch these back to the roofs that we had before, the sloped ones. Nice. So, structures are complete. Let's head off and decorate. Voila! About 4 hours of decoration later, we have a camp that I am really, really happy with. I really like this place. It's about as big as you can get before you really struggle to decorate, but it's come together quite nicely, I think. Nice bit of mixed textures, plenty of stuff going on, colour and light. Yeah, generally quite happy with this one. Added some extra shrubs and bushes around just to kind of bring the grasses back, make the place look like it's been here for a while. It's supposed to be somewhat pre-war in its vibe, so I think that was necessary. I think it looks alright. There's a couple of areas where I've had to be a little sparing with the decoration, but I've managed to get it to come together in a way that doesn't look too obvious. I'm quite happy about that. For example, out front on the porch here. Our vendor, where we can find it nice and easy. Area to sit out. Some of the flowers from recent Fashion Act run under the windows there, the window boxes, and a few extra bits and pieces as well. The bin serving as a stash box for anybody who happens to need it after doing a bit of shopping, so that works quite nicely. The door is from the Iron Mountain Anvil prefab, but it works quite well as a cottagey door as well. Albeit a little bit sturdy with the bars on it. And here we go. Basically the same general layout as the South of Midnight build we did last time, but with a few tweaks to make it work a little bit better. So, nice little seating area. The dining area is a bit more spacious. Got some extra windows, got some fashion masks on display, leaning into Fallout a little bit more with this one. Quite happy with that. I haven't used any of these lights in a while, but I wanted to go for a sort of nice pre-war house, and they kind of work for that. Slipped a little bar in there, used the merge glitch and the chessboard display to get a moonshine jug on there, as well as to drop everything else down. Came out alright. Seating area. The bookshelves, by the way, are stash box bookshelves, which are just piled one on top of the other and then just merged down a little bit to make them fit and look like one item, so I'm quite happy with that. Desk by the stairs, and a fairly standard kitchen, but I'm quite happy on the whole. Merged enclave grill into the back there, so I've got somewhere to cook. Lots of bits and pieces of detail and decoration. There's always one thing I forget though, somewhere. There's always one display item that I forget to stock up. In this case, it's the new Coca-Cola stand. Oh well, I'll do it again afterwards. Yeah, fairly simple kitchen, everything you need, but yeah, kind of happy with this one. I thought about using the white set, but it would just seem a bit too much for me. I thought the blue one was just a little bit more understated, a little bit less kind of gleaming and in your face. But yeah, either would work. I'm quite happy, really. Heading on up the stairs, we'll take a look at the fairly open plan bedroom space. Yeah, I put the little screen in there just to kind of screen the bed off. You don't really need it. It's effectively a single couple occupancy type of a building with only one bedroom in it. But it kind of works. Little separation is nice. Up here, sort of reflects downstairs, but also is kind of cozy and homey and a nice hangout space as well, which I wanted to go for. Still couldn't get my hands on the Old Glory Fire to go in the Old Glory Fireplace. I did have a look on the Bethesda support pages, but unfortunately I couldn't order it through there either. But I'll have to keep my eyes open for that in future. Decent view out the window. With the windows being a little bit different, I went for the vertical curtains up here rather than the sort of angled ones downstairs, which goes a little better with the windows, I think. Yeah, all in all, I quite like this spot. It's a couple of record players, one downstairs and one upstairs as well. A little pre-war tone to that. And would you look at that, we've got a little crafting area as well. It's a must-have in a 76 camp. Not a lot of decoration out here. Part of me is wondering whether or not I should have gone wider with those floors on the balcony and then put like the hot tub out there or something. I think that would have worked quite nicely, although I am a literal hair's breadth from the end of the build budget here, so in that regard maybe it wasn't such a bad thing, because I just wouldn't have had enough budget left to put the kind of decoration on there I would have liked. A couple of bits and pieces on display, and we've gone for a kind of spacious bathroom in here. I kind of wanted to go for the kind of claw-footed tub in the middle of the room vibe there. I did originally have a shower in here, but I realised it's always going to sit across the window, which would not work very well. It doesn't matter where you put it. It's got to go in a corner, which means it's going to sit across the window. So I elected for no shower and a claw-footed tub instead. But obviously we only have the one design available. Still, comes out all right. You get the idea. I picked up the cartography table plan recently for quite a bit of caps, but not too much, I suppose. So wanted to finally take advantage of that. Yeah, all in all, I am really happy with how homey this is. Definitely got a pre-war vibe. It's very clean, but yeah, that works once in a while. Appalachia didn't get bombed anyway, so I don't know. Maybe the cat's in the fireplace for some reason. Maybe the owners of this place actually survived the war and got out of the city or whatever, came down to this place and were safe and sound when the bombs dropped. Perhaps. A few more shrubs and stuff out back just to, again, complete the look and also hide the fact that that fireplace doesn't actually reach the floor, which is a bit unfortunate. What can you do? Tuck the shelter in there. It's the root cellar one, which, just in case I happen to need a shelter, rather. And I did have to extend this structure out backwards a little bit just so I could squeeze the fermenting station and the collectron in there, but it works. Tucked on the back there. And we'll head on in. Managed to squeeze a decent amount of decoration in here and detail. Quite happy with that. Sunk the weapons workbench back a little bit to create a bit more room. Got some scrappy bits around for breaking down for materials. So it's supposed to look that way. All the benches are really close together, but they do all work. I have checked and tested them all. That's the way. Quite happy about that. A couple of lights up top, and yeah, functional, homely, complete camp. So I hope you folks enjoyed that one. If you did, please do consider dropping subs and likes. I very much appreciate. Social media links down below and channel memberships if you want to support the channel that way. I really, really appreciate it. And join us for live streams as well if you get a chance. We are, of course, playing 76. We've got the Bolivian remaster on the go as well at the moment. We're coming towards the end of Avowed and about to hop back into Atomfall again. So loads to watch if you're interested. But for now, I will say thank you very much for watching. I look forward to speaking to you all very, very soon.